Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Oh, it's amazing. I adore you.
Oh, right back at you.
Oh,
Seriously, from the time we met, from the time you came and talked to us about Gracie and getting her at Compass, and you're just,
yes.
I think we have a lot of commonalities,
Yes.
even though we also have our unique, focus areas.
Yes. So give us your full name. Tell us who you are and give us some more credentials of how I
Okay.
know you,
All
why I
right.
know you.
Well, I'm Shelly Dawn Hall Smede is my full name.
That's wonderful. I just met your name, but you can do your name.
I'm from the Hall descendants of Firth, Goshen, Idaho. I've been here all my life. My parents actually live about 20 minutes away from my home right now. So other than 4 years in Moscow, doing college, I'm a local girl.
Born and raised.
Born in Blackfoot.
That's amazing. I didn't know that about
Yeah,
you.
I've been here forever. I wanted to, both of my parents quit high school, but they were highly successful because they were brilliant, But I knew that I wanted to do something that would require college. So I did end up going to University of Idaho and got my degree in English education so I could teach secondary students. And then eventually I had a superintendent who really inspired me, and I earned my master's degree from Idaho State University in 2003 so I could be a principal. So
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And I met you because you were a principal at Compass.
yes.
And it was during COVID that I came and met you.
Yeah, it was a wild year.
It was wild. It was wild. And I feel like I knew of you before that. And you're
I've
just
been around.
awesome.
I've been around.
You've been on city council.
I did do that for 3 years, 3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, right in the middle of COVID, both of my jobs had doubled.
Oh, yeah.
And I just couldn't do both of them great anymore. And I really was focusing on my principal job. And I thought, I'd been told when you're on city council, if you can't pour yourself into it and know exactly what you're talking about, you need to let somebody on there who can. And luckily I got replaced by Lisa Burton-Shaw, who is amazing, as you know.
Amazing. She is amazing, which I have hardly interacted with her.
Really?
Our Venn diagram overlaps, but we don't really, we've been on one committee together. That's it.
Interesting. Yeah, she's great.
She's
great.
amazing. So I met you during COVID. You were the principal. I think they call it director. At Compass, which is a project-based school.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And it's kind of your baby.
So good. The best years of my life were at Compass. 1 decade of my life. Although I did spend 8 years when it was Clary Gale. I was an English teacher there. So, yeah, I spent most of my career there in that building.
No wonder you can give a secret back tour.
Yes, exactly.
You're intimately aware of that
I know the
school.
history of that building.
That's awesome. So, introduce our topic for us.
Okay. Well, you asked me to think of something that would fit with the word be. And I will tell you that the biggest growth area in my life started in probably around 2005. I had been a very anxious, very unfriendly, very competitive college student, teacher, and I had some things happen in 2005 that humbled me. And I realized that I simply could not continue my life as a mean girl. A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that. I mean, when I talk to teachers and I say I was probably one of the meanest people you'll ever meet, highly competitive, just a horrible person, really.
Wow.
And I know a lot of people are like,
don't
what?
believe it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was. I talked to some people from my early days, but I remember I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 2005 in October. Had to have my thyroid removed, went through radioactive iodine, and all of these people were coming out from different schools, bringing me food, bringing me books, stopping by my house, bringing me cards. And I remember saying to my mom, how old was I back then? 35, maybe?
And you had kids.
Yeah, I had 2 kids, 2 little kids. And I remember telling her how surprised I was that all these people were being so kind and thoughtful. And she said to me, well, honey, you've never been thoughtful, so you don't really probably understand it. And at first I was taken aback. And then I realized I have been so focused on me that I haven't thought of anyone else. And it made a lot of the things that I felt were people speaking out against me, calling me princess behind my back and things like that. And I suddenly realized, it just hit me. I can only control one person, me. And I do not want to live a life where people think of me as somebody who is threatening or difficult, or I just didn't want to be that person. And so it wasn't until about 2010 I had a second experience where I realized I've got to change who I am. I would say that I was dramatic, envious, angry, frustrated, outspoken, and it wasn't good. It wasn't who I wanted to be. It wasn't who I wanted my children to be. And so something happened in 2010 that really made me start to explore the idea of Stoicism. And at the moment, I didn't even know it was called that. To me, it was just like trying to find peace and well-being and be a better person.
So the word that you chose was be stoic.
Be stoic.
And I love that journey for you, because that's really 2010 is when I came up with this joyrific concept.
Yeah.
And I think I was probably on a very similar journey of I was a certain person and I wanted to be a different person.
Yeah.
And I was there home with my kids, and that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be home with my kids. That's what my dream was.
Yeah.
And then I was there, and then I didn't want it. I'm like, if this is what I was dreaming about, this is not my dream.
Right.
And so I came up with this joyrific concept of so I've done this for 15 years, trying to change who I am and that natural person.
15 years, yeah.
That I am. And I love you so much.
You're amazing.
Oh, this is awesome.
Is joyrific an homage to your mom?
Yes.
I thought it might be.
Yes.
That's
my
awesome.
mom. And my mom was a principal.
That's right.
I grew up in schools. She was my dean or my principal or my teacher through all the schools.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah, you've talked with her.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. She loves you.
Oh, she's amazing.
She is amazing. So I relate a lot to what you do at your principalship and how you've run a school and how you know. I mean, you knew every kid's name.
I called that a parlor trick, but boy, it sure made an impact on kids and parents. If I could know their names when they walked into the building for the first time. And so I would do, I called them flashcards, but I would just, take the pictures of them from Power School and just go through them in different orders and memorize them. It was really fun.
What made you come up with that?
What I found, my first year as a vice principal was 2008, and I was at Eagle Rock Middle School. We had 900 students, and I had never seen the level of drama and just craziness that middle school students, when you're a vice principal, that's their world. And I learned that every time I would learn a student's name, suddenly they would become much more easy to work with. Yeah. As soon as you work with a student in the office, suddenly you know them, you can check with them, you can coach them. And I found that I would start learning a few names every night, and the next day I would go and seek out those students and say, "Hey, Zach," and Zach suddenly had a question for me that he would never have asked if I hadn't learned his name. So that just really worked for me. And, when you are in a smaller school, we usually had about 450 to 500 students at Compass. I was only learning 100, 150 new names a year, so it wasn't that hard. So it worked out great.
You say that so nonchalantly. That's amazing. Well, and I even want to take that into parenting. And I know that you know your kids' names.
Yeah.
But that concept of when you have that intimate desire to know them better.
Yeah.
It works. And they come and ask you the questions, just like Zach asked you the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we have 5 points that we're going to talk about.
Right.
Let's sum up the 5 points,
okay,
and then we'll go through them, because I think I could talk to you for 5 straight hours.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So let's do that. But before we do that,
okay,
let's talk about your strengths.
Oh yeah, I took the opportunity to listen to 4 of your podcasts. The one with Mr. Braithwaite, Mr. Castor, Mr. Perez, and Dr. Larson. Just the one on Be Medicated. And you talked to several of them about their strengths from the Strengths Finder. Mm-hmm. I was introduced to this by my boss back in oh gosh, it had to be 2002 or something. The original Strengths Finder, Craig Ashton, he lived in this neighborhood, I think kind of
Oh,
across the
wow.
street. And I found it fascinating. So I actually had my daughters go through and do theirs, when they were young. But my first one is learner. And I love that I kind of reviewed these. And to be a learner doesn't mean you want to be an expert on everything. You just want to keep learning new things
Like
and
a sponge.
yes, and adding to your archive of what you know. And yeah, I love it. Focus, uh, having like setting goals. I know even now as a retired person, I have certain goals for each summer and winter and, next year and the year after. Achiever, this one is it says in the description, I start every day at 0. And it's true. My husband laughs because I say to him, I usually have 2 or 3 key tasks, things I want to accomplish every morning when I wake up, and I tick those off, and it just feels good. And that's Monday,
Yeah.
Monday through Sunday. Every single day, I have my things
So
I need
I
to do.
share Achiever.
Yeah. Oh, of
It's one
course
of
you
my
do.
top
Of
ones.
course you do.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, and I think it goes back to why it was so hard all of a sudden. I was home with my kids, and like the only thing to check off was like changing the diapers and feeding them.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
Right.
Like, this is really, really hard for me.
Right. But it's
So,
so good for your kids to see you expanding and, modeling ideas for them,
yeah.
just like it's amazing. Input is my number 4, and then ideation is 5. And ideation, I think it was 5, and I took this back in 2007. So this is like before my focus on improving and learning and becoming stoic versus my after. And these haven't changed, but how I approach them changes.
Yeah.
And with ideation, it's that idea of like just being fascinated with every new idea and finding connections among all the ideas.
Gracie and I
So,
share ideation too.
yes, it's awesome. Yeah,
That
my daughter and I too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That is awesome. So I've done it with my kids, and I've become a certified coach with
That's
with
awesome.
Gallup.
Oh
And
my gosh, this stuff is quality.
it's really neat. And what
Yeah.
I love about it, and I do corporate training, and like that's what it was
Wow.
built for, right?
Yeah.
Is corporate training.
Yeah.
But bringing it to families and having families see how they as a team can come together
Yeah.
and how we're all different and everything. So, and it comes from my mom. Every time she would do emergenetics was the one that she would
Oh,
do.
I remember you talking about that.
And
Right.
she would have the coaches come in and do her entire staff. So they kind of knew how to work together, and it was
Right.
just what her professional development was for them.
Right.
But every time they'd come, they'd do our family too.
Oh.
So at 19 is the first time that I really remember doing it. And like, wow, I am very different than my mom. There are some things that were the same, but we're different. And it's okay. And it's okay that I'm different. And
Right.
it's okay that she's different. And like, it just kind of changed my life.
Yeah, I have a really really good friend. I'm in this group. It's called a Medici group, and my friend Amy Hansen started, or Amy Stewart. She's Amy Stewart, and she pulled people. She's a business owner, and she pulled people from different thought areas, and we meet about once every 2 months to just think about what are some things that we could pool all of our strengths in order to
That's
improve life.
awesome.
She's brilliant. She's amazing. But one of the things that we first connected with was we both had taken the Strengths Finder and had some
Yeah.
commonalities there.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, 5 points.
Okay.
So you have your bullets.
Yes. Let me open those. So here are the things that, I thought about this a little over the last month, and the things that jumped out at me that I really work on all the time is, first of all, focusing on the things I can control. A long time ago I read Covey, and he talked about your circle of concern
Influence. Oh,
versus your
yeah.
circle of influence.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you are stressing out constantly over your circle of concern, like what's going on in the world, you can become extremely bogged down and frustrated. So I focus on what I can control. Do I have any control over this? If I don't, I'm going to let that go. The second one was putting aside ego. I would tell you that I think ego was the number one biggest problem I had as a young person, all the way up until my 30s, is that I was constantly thinking about myself and how other people saw me, realized that other people probably more think of themselves than me, and so I wasted a lot of time focusing on my ego. The third one was practicing resilience when faced with failure. I used to find failure to be devastating. And now every time I fail, I think, okay, what am I to learn from this? I know it's just over 55 years. I have survived each failure and I've grown from each failure. So I've less and less I've kind of stopped thinking them as failures. They're just a growth opportunity. The fourth one is to observe tough emotions and their effects on me. It used to be that when I was worried or angry or sad, I would let those emotions overwhelm me. And now I realize that tough emotions are to be experienced and to be observed. They're not to be pushed down. But I also can decide how I'm going to respond to those. I don't have to be dramatic about those. And finally, the last one is taking personal responsibility and avoid placing blame. That was probably the one that I spent the most time talking to students about when they would blame their teacher or their parent or their friend or somebody else. I'd say, you have zero power to improve this until you take ownership of it and you fix it. So I would actually teach students, even if something happens to me where I could easily blame this on somebody else, I specifically take it on as, what did I do and what can I do to fix this? Because now I have control, over making a change on it.
I love that. So we're going to talk about each of those points in
Okay.
deep dive because I have like 10 things to say about each of them. And so
Yay,
I'm very excited.
that's awesome.
But the Jurific chart, when I created it in 2010, and it started out as a red, yellow, green light on my fridge for the kids. And and I actually had it at the top of the fridge. And so I would put the magnet where they were.
Right.
And I learned pretty quick, like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And so we brought it down. And anyways, as it evolved, it turned into what it is now. So it really hasn't changed since 2010.
That's awesome.
And only you can move your magnet.
Right.
Is a huge part of this, which
Personal ownership.
Yeah. And I didn't go into this thinking that was the lesson that I needed to learn or teach my kids.
Right.
But that is a huge lesson of the Jurific chart. Only you can move your magnet. So let's talk about what you can control and how you've learned that and all your experiences with that.
Okay, so I actually have some thoughts here. 3 things that jumped out at me. The first one was I read another book a long time ago. I believe it was called What Got You Here Can't Get You There. It's a pretty good book, yeah. And I started a journal. And it was called a Journal 10. And I've since kind of made it my own, but I've been doing it now for 18 years. And so I have 2 editions of it because Google Documents can't handle more than that. So my first edition was from 2006 to 2016, and it was 365 pages.
Wow.
And every year I would just add the next year onto the page. So the very front page is January 1st. 2006, and it goes down through 2016. And so every day I fill it out, and it's never more than, I limit myself to 4 lines of text, and it has to be very concise and very focused on.
Wait, are you going to publish this?
No, it's not that interesting. The thing that's amazing with it.
I would love to read that.
Okay, the thing that's amazing with it is I'm allowed to reflect on what I did last year and the year before, and even comment on it, like how my feelings have changed and how my thoughts have changed. What I love about it is, we'll say like, how old is our heater? And I'll go, I know. And I can, control find heater, and it'll say, you got your heater from this company on this day. It costs this much.
Oh, wow.
It is awesome. But once I got through 10 years.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So January 1.
January 1,
And
2006. And I did 4 lines of what happened to me that day.
And then in 2007, you do it on the same
right
page.
Below, same page.
And then
so you have 10 years on one page. And so, every morning I open it and review, and every night I write it can, sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's just the date and I forgot to write, but very seldom. But so I've been doing this for almost 20 years.
That's amazing.
It is so good. But again, it just gave me the chance I'll look back at like 2014 when I was really angry at somebody and really upset with something. And I think, Shelly, that was ridiculous. You didn't see it right. And I'll reflect on that in that entry. And so to me, that, being able to look back on what has happened and reflect on it, and again, take personal ownership over what you can control. I
So
think
you
that's important.
started this in 2006.
Yes, like I think it was May 2006 I started it.
And what spurred you to start this?
I read that book and he had talked about this
Oh.
Journal 10. And I think it's something you can buy, but to me, I had to make it searchable.
Mm.
I wanted it to be
You didn't want
digital.
handwritten.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I wanted to be digital so that I could edit and, because a lot of times I'll go through and even I'll look and I'll say, "Oh, I don't need the word very there. That's over the top." So it's just like,
So English teacher of
yeah,
you.
but it's like I'm always growing and
Oh, that's
it's been
awesome.
the best thing. And I will tell you that make it with the idea that someday my daughters will probably read it.
Mm.
And so there's nothing there like, oh, my daughter's so annoying today. Some of it's cryptic.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll put in something, but I won't say the name of the person. And what's interesting is a lot of times I can't even remember who it was,
Oh,
but it's good.
yeah.
I just know how I felt the year before. But, this year was a real change for me. I retired about a year ago, and now I'm starting to reread
Mm.
my thoughts from a year ago and just see growth. And it's like, to me, it's like these are things I can control.
Mm.
Those are things I can control. Another example, and I told you that I really started focusing on this idea of controlling my emotions or seeing them in a new way in 2010. And let me tell you what happened. It was November 1st, 2010. I'm fairly certain that was the date. And one of my daughter was a freshman at Eagle Rock, and that was when freshmen were at the middle schools. And one of her best friends, who was an 8th grader, was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Mm.
It was it was probably the most horrifying event to happen to a school that I've ever experienced, because he was a very wonderful, lovely young man whose mom was a favorite teacher at the building.
Oh.
And my daughter, Sheridan, happened to be the person who was texting him right at the time that he got on his motorcycle and came home and was hit by a car.
Oh.
And so my daughter, he was one of her best friends, and she was devastated. And I was in Boise at the time, and I remember driving back because I didn't want to leave that to my principal, and my daughter's there, and this horrible thing has happened that is going to affect our entire school family forever, for years.
Yeah.
And I got there, and as I'm walking down the hall, this is midday on the day after Garrett's death. It was Garrett Teal. And I see these kids, and I just tears start flowing down my face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And I went into the library, which was the kind of the control center for where all the counselors had come across the district, and I noted that our librarian, Kathy Johnson, had no tears. Instead, she was stoic. She was strong. She was taking care of people and taking charge. And I immediately thought, I wish I could be that way. I wonder if I could be that person who, even though I have those feelings, I can be strong enough to take care of other people, even in those moments of extreme duress. And she just inspired me. She has no idea about that, but I just thought, that's the leader I want to be. Somebody who can feel the feelings, but be strong. And then finally, the last little point I had on, just what you can control. There's an individual I find very inspiring. Some people find him very political, so it's not important probably who it is. But he was talking to one of his psychology classes about what a good goal it would be to be the person who is stoic and strong at your own father's funeral, who is there to take care of other people and make sure everything runs, that can be in charge. And I thought, that's a beautiful goal, to be that person who, even though you're feeling it, you can take care of other people. And that has just been the big goal for me for the last 15 years.
So
as far as
do you
stoicism.
feel like before that, so that's the goal of what you want. That's your
Yeah.
ideals.
Right.
Before that, how is it that it came out in you typically?
I would overreact to things. I mean, I had moments where stressful things would happen to me as a vice principal, and I would think I was having a heart attack and leave for the day and go get an EKG, and it was just a panic attack. And I'm like, Shelly, this drama is not serving you.
Mm.
It's like I was making everything that happened about myself and how I responded to it. And I just realized that I just had so much more that I could help people with if I learned how to handle those things in a calm way. In fact, I was listening to you and Mr. Braithwaite talk about, no, it was Mr. Perez, talk about how be happy is not the best thing. And I thought, it's true. Happy is not my goal. Peace, well-being, those are the goals for me, because you're not going to be happy every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not.
That's so interesting. So as I've been talking about Stoic, because Stoic, I would say, is a loaded word.
Oh, definitely.
And
yeah, I pondered over whether that's the word I wanted to use, but
it kept coming.
Yeah.
And I talked to Garth and our girls, right?
Yeah.
That like the Stoic being this loaded word of like, and I don't know what we would say even is the loaded aspect of it, but this like mass, like, oh, I can't even think of the word. A toxic trait.
Yes.
Of Stoic.
Like cold,
Yes.
unemotional, closed off.
Yes.
But I just didn't find it to be that way.
And you
Yeah.
are like the epitome of what we're talking about here. Like you are what we're saying as the example of being stoic.
Yeah.
It's not being cold. It's
No.
not being any of those other things. It's who you are and how. And it's so interesting. I never actually connected it with my mom. My mom is very, I would say, the stoic that you just
Right.
described.
Right.
She does not let emotions run her life.
Right.
And she's had a lot of really hard things that have happened and hard principles when she was an assistant principal and just like a lot of really terrible situations. And I remember her always saying, like, don't show your emotion. Like, you keep
Emotion's good, but you hold it and you observe it. You don't, if you squash down emotions and you don't face them, they're going to come out in horrible ways. But if you're just like, I am so angry right now, I'm going to go on a walk and I'm going to listen to Eminem and I'm just going to just get through this. But it just, yeah, it made such a difference. I remember part of my job as a principal was we would have students who wanted to self-harm or even, end their life. And I remember talking to parents, and I'd had a little experience, with depression with one of my own daughters. And I would say, when you talk to your child, you may feel like you just want to cry and just feel sorrow, or you may be upset about it. But truly, the best thing I think is to show them that you are strong enough and powerful enough to take care of them and that they can count on you to be that person. And again, I got that from one of the counselors my own daughter had worked with. It was, what was his name? Daniel over at Creekside. Daniel Allen. Yeah, he had taught me that. And it's just like, you want your child to know, my mom is a powerhouse and she is going to be there and she is going to help me through this tough stuff. And, that just was good.
And it's on my shelf. I got to think of the name of it. But this book, and it talks about this idea of you're the edge of the swimming pool and your teenage girls are pushing against the edge of that swimming pool to go out and swim.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they hold on to you. And if you can stay firm and controlled and that strong foundation of what they, and sometimes they hurt your feelings because they like kick you in the face as they're like pushing out to go be independent and swim. And then they come back and like they hang on for a couple of seconds and then they kick you again and they're off swimming again. Yeah. And I've always thought, and they said that versus like flexible, like if you kick on a pool that, those above ground pools that aren't sturdy,
right? You
can spill over and like it ruins the pool.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1, control what you can control.
Right. Focus on that. Don't worry about the things that are out of your control.
And let it go.
Yes.
And that's hard. That's hard. Especially, and you mentioned panic attacks, right? Like we've had experiences with panic attacks. And I think that it's a journey to understand that because your body takes over. Yeah. Like your brain is like, I'm in danger.
Right.
I need to run away from the bear.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 2, put aside ego.
Put aside ego.
So tell us how you've learned to do this.
It was actually my daughters who, they knew who I was, who I was. And one time, my little Gibby, she said, "Mom, you have got to read Michael Singer or Eckhart Tolle. They are amazing." And I thought, okay. So I remember I was gardening, doing a lot of gardening in the summer. I find a lot of peace being out and weeding the garden. And I was listening to Michael Singer and Eckhart Tolle talking about ego, and ego is poison. Ego, my Gibby told me, she said, the very most blatant form of ego is being offended. Like, if you listen to something new that you may not agree with and you decide you're offended by that, that's ego. That's you. That's a you problem. You don't have to be offended by anything that you listen to. You can always learn from it or grow from it or disagree with it, but you don't have to be offended by it. But ego is, wanting to be better than, wanting possessions, wanting to, the way you look, the way you dress, the profession. One of the things that Tolle would say is that if somebody asks you who you are, and you say, well, I'm a teacher and I'm a principal and I'm a mother and I'm a wife, that even those things are ego. It's like who you really are is the being inside of you who's observing everything, and just you don't have to. Anytime you can get away from letting the ego make you make decisions, you're going to be in a much better place. And so that was another thing, when you're teaching and working with high schoolers, they're going to sometimes call you names or write on social media what an idiot you are. And again, it's like, if my ego takes over, I'm going to be offended by those things. I'm going to be angry with that student. But instead, it's like, this student is sharing what they feel. This means nothing to me. This is them. I'm just going to move forward. And so anytime I start to feel like I'm offended or I'm angry or I'm this or I'm that, I just think, Shelly, that's your ego. That's your ego. Let it go.
Oh my goodness.
Live your life.
That's good. I needed to hear that today. Well, and like I would say the achiever in me kind of struggles with this one.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I like to achieve and do the things and like
I like to have the good haircut and the good shoes and the nice clothes and the all those things. And I keep thinking, okay, those are things that you enjoy, but they're not who you are. Just I think of those things as hobbies, pleasantries, fun, projects. But when it comes right down to it, it's who you are deep inside, your being.
So do you think that your 10 journal has helped you with this?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. When I read my journal from 2006 to 2016, I had a lot of ego in there. It was very fascinating. And sometimes I'm even embarrassed with some of the thoughts I had and some of the things I was thinking. But again, that helps remind me, be the better person. I know that every once in a while I'll come to a journal entry that will just be a list of things like, listen more than you speak. Oh. Quit taking things personally. And I'll be like, oh, that was a day that my ego was taking over. And I had to remind myself for the next year, be better.
That is so good. That is so good. That is hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me. That one's a hard one.
Well, I'm 55 and I barely started doing this stuff, when I was about 40, I started working on it, and it is not something that you perfect.
Yeah.
Stoicism is something that you continue to learn about and grow with, but it'll never be perfect. And that's part of the process.
Yeah.
That's the learner part of me, wanting to keep getting better.
Yes. And the achiever part of me wants to impress. And this podcast, this season, I've been doing a lot of this inner reflecting. And I do it to bless, not impress.
Yes.
That's like my underlying mantra of this season. Because, and maybe it is trying to put aside my ego of saying, like, I know I have really awesome people that have awesome lessons, and I want to learn from them. And I'm not doing this to impress people. I'm doing this to help with the passing on the knowledge.
Jamie, you have got to know something. When I started listening to some of these podcasts in this particular theme, and when I talked to my husband about it, because I'm like, I'm kind of nervous. Everybody's so smart. I had one word that described how you were working with each of the people you interviewed, and the word was generous.
Oh,
I said, she is so amazing that she could be the focus, but she is so generous with this
oh,
process. It was very impressive. It is very impressive what you do. So that was what I
thank
told
you.
my husband. Generous was the word that I thought was
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. I try really, really,
Yeah.
really hard.
Well, you're doing a good job at
Oh, thank
it.
you. And I think that that's part of Joyrific is it's Joyrific has some of these simple life truths to it that yes, it's kind of focused for 3-year-olds.
Yes.
And it, you know,
I love
you
that.
introduce it to 3-year-olds and they love moving their magnet.
Right.
But truly, it's for me. Like the Joyrific chart is for me.
I
And
love it.
I made it. And still, I'm like, oh, I got to move my magnet. Like,
Yes.
yes, it
That's
is.
awesome.
And I love about it, like with your ego, right? Like if you don't have your ears on.
Yes.
And I think that's very much in alignment with what you're saying. If you don't have your ears on, how can you slow down, stop, figure out how to be kind to yourself or to
Right.
others?
Right.
Get those ears back on, get your brain re-engaged and do it. And it's not easy.
No.
It's a journey for a
Yes.
reason. Yeah. I love you so much. Number 3,
Okay.
responding to failure.
Okay. Boy, that was a big one for me because when I was in college, I had a moment where I thought, I will do better in college if I have a nemesis. And this
can't
was
believe
not
that.
good. No, it was not good. In high school, I had a person I had identified as my nemesis. She never knew about it. In college, I identified another person, again, on similar paths.
That's so interesting.
And they never even knew they were my nemesis, but I would work on competing. And like, for example, every year there'd be an honors convocation in the spring. And I would look through at the things where my name was listed in the brochure and like her name wasn't. Yes, I am the winner.
Wow.
Bad, very bad. And so when I would fail at something, when I was teaching English to 7th and 8th graders and a lesson would go poorly, I would beat myself up. I would worry about it all overnight. I wouldn't be able to sleep over it. And it wasn't until I came to Compass and started learning about agency and that idea of growth mindset and doing the things that are going to help you continue to grow, being humble as a learner. Suddenly, I was like, failure has never been failure. Every time I failed at something, I have become better on the other side of that. But with so much angst, I don't need the angst. So now when I fail at something, I immediately can tell myself, okay, there's a lesson here. There is something better coming. What can I do that will help me move forward? I mean, I've had situations where, as the director of a school where we wanted our teachers to have a voice, I would have teachers pull me aside and say, we're real mad about this. We don't like how you're handling it. And I could have been totally upset about it and managed it, but instead being able to go, okay, I'm failing at this. Let's see what we can do to grow. Let's actually go back to the beginning. Let's look at the foundational pieces of being a good principal and being a good educator and see how we can get better. And I just fell in love with that idea of, I don't think anything's a failure. The only time I have really stretched myself and grown as a human is when something didn't work. And so now it's hard for me to think of anything being a failure.
Yeah. That's really mature, I would say.
Well, I wasn't feeling it in my 20s, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And as kids, right? Like because I'm in this era of raising these teenagers, helping them to recognize a failure that it is for the better. And I think it takes a lot of reflection to be able to do that.
A lot of talking. One of the things I love that your audience is these young people, your kids. I'm thinking my kids. And my daughters and I used to play a game called Ethical Dilemma, where I would think of something insane that had happened with a student in one of my experiences. And I would say, okay, guys, let's say that this happens. How do you tackle it? Because one thing I for sure wanted was that my girls would be powerful women who had voices, but would never be mean girls, because that hadn't served me.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to go there. And so we would chat out and like problem solve how you would handle certain things. And I was really proud of my girls and the way they handled losing friends, breakups, things like that.
Yeah.
But again, it's that idea of failures aren't fail. You know, it's not like you're really ruined.
Right.
It's just a chance to revise and reiterate.
I feel like you practice that. Like,
Yeah, it was something ethical dilemma. It was just a little game we'd play in the car.
that's so fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I would even say that you could do things that they have done, that
Yeah.
you bring it up and you
Absolutely.
say this ethical dilemma, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And we've talked about QT time, and that's kind of a little bit of what we do with QT
Right.
time is, and I've done it before with some of my kids that are problem solvers.
Remind me the QT is.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
Like, it came about, like, you're such a cutie. I want to spend time with
Cutie.
you. Like,
Okay.
CUTIE,
Right.
cutie.
Yeah.
But also Q for quality and T for together. So quality together time,
Nice.
or quality time. But my kids make fun of me because I say quality QT time, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I say it. And they're like, that means quality time. Like, okay. Quality time. That's what I want
Smart
to do.
kids.
Yes.
There.
Yes. So, and I don't think it necessarily has a meaning, because it can be quarantine time. Sometimes you need to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
We learned that during COVID.
Yeah.
And quality time, quantity time, like, there's all these different things. And I had a working mom that my mom and I's relationship really struggled from 12 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
We probably, I would say, hated each other.
Same with my mom.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Exact same.
And so I, in 2010, saw this. I had 3 little girls, and I thought, they're going to hate me just like my mom hated me, and I hated my mom. And Gracie was standing in the hallway yelling at me at 5 because I like told her to clean her room, and I was yelling back. I mean, I was in a power struggle with a 5-year-old, and like 10 years flashed before my eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, if we have the same conversation when she's 15,
Yeah.
like, life's gonna be real hard.
Yes.
So that's how Joyrific kind of was born. Is I knew I needed to change something.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it out. And I was failing as a mom. Like, I didn't want to be
Yeah.
what I experienced. The whole goal was that I wanted to do this extreme change. And I couldn't figure out how.
Yes.
So, yeah, I failed a lot. And I have Garth, who does such a good job of helping me. We talk a lot about, and we like practice a lot of how to handle
love
this situation.
listening to that Be Curious podcast.
Oh my
with him.
goodness.
You guys are so cool. I just
He's
thought,
so
what a
good.
wonderful connection you two have, and you complement each other. And
Oh,
it's
he's
beautiful.
the best thing that's happened to me, because I have this ego that is really great, and he does not. He is like the epitome of kind and gentle, and I am like a
We
little
both
bit-
married well. My
Yes.
Steve, we've been together. This will be our 33rd anniversary this year. And boy, you marry well, it's a good life.
Yes, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And like, how do you pass that knowledge on to your kids? Like, those who you surround yourself with makes a big difference. Makes a big
Oh,
difference.
yeah. Definitely.
Oh, man. Okay. I like the responding to failure and learning from it. Because I feel if I don't learn from this, I'm going to get the lesson over and over and over again until I do learn it.
Exactly.
And how, yeah.
Well, it's good to be held accountable. You know, one of my big turning points, and this is why I say that you never make your biggest growth without some failing. I was in college, I was a sophomore, and I had a paper due, a draft, and I just didn't get to it. I just didn't get to it. And so I went into my professor's office hours an hour before class, and I lied. I said, I held up a floppy disk because those were popular back when I was in college, and I said, my paper won't print. And my teacher, being brilliant, said, the library is right across there. You go right there and you write it out, just everything you can remember. You have an hour. Oh my goodness. But what happened during that hour, I had to just produce something
Yeah.
because I didn't want her to think I didn't
Lying.
want to get caught in the lie.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned, Shelly, instead of slaving over every word in an essay, just get it down. It changed the way I write. That one situation where I failed, somebody held me accountable, I had to pull myself together, and I became a better writer because of that situation.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a weird thing, but
That's an awesome learning experience.
it was really good. Good professor.
Oh, I love it when that happens. I love it when, that's really good.
Yeah.
And I love that you were essentially caught in a lie.
I was.
And the professor probably knew it.
She knew. Absolutely.
But she didn't say liar, you know?
No.
And like we as parents, if we can like take that in and like, okay, we've caught a kid in a lie. How is it that we're going to give them an out?
Yeah.
And that's what Gar says to me we actually talk about this a lot. He says, don't paint yourself in a corner. And, you know, like you got to let them have some kind of out where you can tell that they're caught in a lie.
Right.
But if you painted yourself in a corner, you know, like that's not great.
No.
Like you got to figure out a way. And she did that. Yeah. And then that was the lesson.
Yes, exactly.
And you remember it still. And it's been so long.
That's how I write now.
Oh.
I pour it down. And then I make it perfect.
And as an English teacher, isn't that the point of a
Oh,
draft?
yeah. That
Like,
was what
we
I would
knew
do
that.
with kids. We would do what would be called lightning writing, where after we learned a bunch, I would give them 10 minutes to just put everything down that they knew, and then we could start refining it. And you don't get the plagiarism.
Yes.
It's their work.
Yes.
So,
Oh, and speaking of AI and all of those things, we could go down that rabbit hole.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, number 4.
Okay.
Observing tough emotions.
Oh, yes. This one was huge for me. I remember being a young married woman, young wife. We were living in Cloverdale. I would get very angry, and I actually kicked a closet door, and I kicked a hole in a door. And it was so embarrassing because no one was home with me. I was just so mad that I was being a brat. And I was trying to fix this door because I didn't want my husband to think I was psycho. And it was just like, okay, that's insane. But in my life, I was so wrapped up in negative emotion that I had this process where if I was really, really worried about something, I would force myself to keep that worry front and center. Like through a day, let's say I'm really, really worried about something that I'm doing the next day at school. If I suddenly found myself relaxed, I'd say, no, Shelly, you need to be worried about this. This is coming. The more you worry, the better. And once I listened to, again, Singer and Tolle, it's the idea of if you have rage or sorrow or, fear come into your life, don't observe those things as if they're leaves floating by in a creek. Don't make them part of who you are. And that has been incredible for me. So now when I see something that infuriates me, I can actually sit back and say, okay, this is making you mad. Why is it making you feel that way? What do you have to learn from this? And it's just, I no longer, I found that even in my toughest days now, my first responses are neither yelling nor crying. They are thinking, wallowing in the emotion without letting it overcome me and then be pushed out onto other people. And there's a lot of power in that. When somebody can say something so hurtful. I've had students come in, and I had this one student who came in and said, I took over for a wonderful principal, Matthew Bertasso. He was so cool, so innovative. And I had this young lady come in and say, nobody likes you as much as they liked Mr. Bertasso because you're boring. And I'm just like, okay, interesting, And it was just like, it's so much more powerful to say, I can see how you are feeling that. That's a really good point, But it just changed everything for me to realize that emotions, you want to experiencing them because, again, I'm not about pushing them down and becoming that repressed, angry person inside. You want to experience them, but you decide how you will respond to them. So toxic emotions mean think through it, take some time, focus on it, don't try to push it aside, but then learn from it and move on. And I just don't freak out a lot anymore. Very
So
seldom.
you, I would say we had an experience that I was freaking out,
Yeah.
and I came and talked to you,
Yeah.
and you were so kind to me.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. It's something my husband said yesterday. We were watching a show on Hulu or something, and there was a situation where the young man was like, that was bull crap. And my husband was like, I just can't trust somebody who is going to hold down the cuss words. And I remember I heard a cuss word and I was like, I like you even more. That is fantastic. I hope that, and you can
I
cut that if you want, but my
no,
gosh, I was
I
like,
was cussing. I
Jamie,
was.
you are awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I was so proud. I was so pleased.
I.
You're such a good mom. Seriously.
Oh
No,
well.
you're
It was
amazing.
an interesting situation,
Yes, it
and
was.
I
And you
mean,
were right.
I.
You were right. And I was doing my job in my position.
You did really
Um,
great, and
But that was a tough one because
that
you
was
were
a
right.
tough one. And I did close the door and I
Yes.
recognized you were doing your job.
Yes.
And at the end, I can't remember who I was telling, but I said at the end, I hugged Shelly. Like,
Yes.
she was like, you said those things and then hugged her.
Of
And
course.
I was like, yeah. Like, and I probably should have like called my counselor before I came and talked to you.
No.
But
No, it's
Gracie was in the
beautiful.
hospital. Like, there was trouble there. Ainsley, when your kid does
Yes.
something that you just
Your
want.
Ainsley saw a powerhouse that day. She saw someone
Oh.
who backed her up and had her back. And it was just like beautiful parenting.
And I tried.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's sweet. Because I did try. We call it storming the castle. So,
Okay.
and Shelby Whiting, if you know Shelby
I know
Whiting.
Shelby. I love her.
So I have done similar things with Shelby, and she so lovingly has like helped me mature in my things. But we call it storming the castle,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we openly talk to our kids about like, okay, you've had this bad experience. And bad emotions are happening, and you're frustrated or mad or angry. You don't have your ears on,
Right.
which we know about the terrific chart
Right.
and what you do when you don't have
Right.
your ears on, because it's really easy to see a 3-year-old without ears. But now, like, I'm 40. And when you storm the cat, so we talk to the kids about, like, I have this dragon within me that I can come and get my, like, I'm not a doormat, right?
Exactly.
But having control with it and like being more stoic probably would have helped me on that day.
One of the things I got to mentor a couple of administrators as my deans of students. They're amazing. And one of the things I told them, when you have a meeting coming up with a parent who you know is angry, and most of the time legitimately angry, like, yeah, I'd be angry too if I were the parent in that situation. I said the best thing you can do, instead of trying to make excuses, which ties into the 5th bullet, is take a notebook and start writing everything down that you hear them say. And if they even stop for a minute, ask them questions about what they've just said and keep taking notes. By the end, more often than not, people need to be heard.
Yes.
And they need to be understood. And I have had situations where a parent would come in legitimately angry, and at the end of that, they would say, "Thank you so much. I appreciate all your help." And I'm like, I didn't help you. I didn't change anything,
Right.
but just to hear them and then truly be able to ask questions and let them vent the entire thing. I think that's the biggest mistake that educators make, is when they try to argue or explain away or place blame instead of just listening.
Yeah. Well, and I would say educators and parents. Like, when your teenagers come to you with the thing, like, grab a notebook. Like, I would
Yes.
say try
Yeah.
it. And like, yeah, instead of like instantly trying to like jump and like do the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom used to do that.
Yeah.
My mom would type, or she would write out things
Yeah.
that people would say. And
It feels good to have someone hear you,
yeah.
and understand. When my older daughter went to Skyline, and a couple of times things would happen between her and adults in the building, and the principal over there at the time was Jeff Sanders. And he and I were friends. And so I would call him and I would complain. And then he'd say, Shelly, what would you like me to do about this? And I would say, nothing. I'm just happy you know. That's
Yeah.
all. And the empathy that he would show my child, just knowing that she'd gone through something. But, you know, it would be very inappropriate for a principal from one building to go after a teacher
Yeah.
from another building. That's not nice. But he listened to me. And so I never had to poke at the teacher. The teachers
Yeah.
never knew I had a problem. He heard me.
Yeah. And finding the right outlet for
Yes.
that. And it's probably not social media and tagging them, you know, like,
That makes me so sad when somebody starts to attack somebody on social media. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so scary. And to be the person who is being attacked, oh, you know,
Yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
when I was doing my MBA, I was doing mailboxes in this neighborhood. And it turned into this whole thing that I was like,
They're
whoa.
beautiful, though. I
They-
love them.
They are beautiful. And there were people that said very mean things to me. I mean, they'd say mean things to me at church.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? And that experience, and I talked to my kids a lot about it, about like, these are what people are saying to me. And
Right.
they were saying things to my kids. And like, it just turned nasty really
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And how we learn from that, and like the tough emotions, people don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
And I was changing things.
Yeah.
And it was for the good, and it ended up being fine.
Right.
But the way that my mom describes it is because she was raised on a ranch in southern Utah,
Okay.
and the water irrigation ditch has the water, and when
Mhm.
it's your turn to water your field, you have to throw down the irrigation the gate,
Yes.
right? And the like water gets all like out of control, and then like after a few seconds, it
Yeah.
just like
I grew
calms
up in
down.
Goshen, Idaho. I know all about irrigation ditches.
Yeah. and that danger of and that's me coming into your office. I was like in the middle of and it like calmed down, and you listened, and you knew you couldn't do anything, and I wasn't even going to like make you do anything.
No,
Like
knew
I
you
don't
weren't.
even know what I was
I knew
doing.
you weren't. You're good.
But
It all worked out.
it did work out. It did work out. And she did learn from it.
Yes.
And yeah. Tough emotions.
Yes.
But I do like the idea of trying it with your kids, because I don't think I've ever tried that necessarily with my kids.
Yeah.
And Garth is actually the best. So usually what I do is I say, Garth, quick, they're saying something to me that I'm going to respond to. And like he'll come in and like being curious, we'll
Yeah.
just continue to ask the questions and not, and I, like you saying, opposite of Stoic, want to be like, and can you believe what she did? And like, okay, deep breath.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
That was one of the big things I've noticed since I've really started working on this. And again, this has been 15 years. Is I used to be the biggest gossip ever. I used to always talk about people behind their backs, and that is one of the big things. Is if I have something that I have a problem with somebody, I need to talk to them.
Yes.
And I need to, you know, and so that's been something I've really fought against, because gossip is so fun. It's so fun. And so when I meet people who are anti-gossips, like the director of federal programs in District 91, Dr. Thomas Kennedy, that man will not say a negative word about anything, but he's incredibly effective. And I'm just like, I am aspiring to be like
Yes.
this person. He's
Yes.
amazing.
That is so good. I've been on the other side of gossip, and it's nasty.
It is.
It can be really, really
Yeah.
hurtful.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the hurt it does no good,
Right.
right? Like, and so helping to rise above that is hard.
I totally get, and it can be so terrifying. Back in, I think it was 2018, we had a teacher who was Jewish at our school, and we were doing all these Christmas things. And the student council came and said to me something about, well, she doesn't want to do Christmas stuff with her class. I said, well, I think that she'll actually allow them to do it. It's not a problem. I said, but, we can't force everybody to celebrate Christmas. So let's let the teacher, let her kids do, what they do, and let's just move on. And a parent got wind of that. And I mean, we had a Christmas tree up. I had Christmas decorations on my newsletters. And I got a call from my boss that said that East Idaho News had heard that I was not allowing kids to say the word Christmas at Compass. And I'm like, oh my God. I just thought, this is politically and personally devastating. And luckily, it was
Yeah.
just nipped because I had 18 different examples of, no, we're celebrating Christmas. We love Christmas here.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you have people talking behind your back, especially if it's unfair,
Yeah. And public.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
It's
a
hard.
rough one for me.
So how did you come out of that?
Oh, well, it was funny that luckily East Idaho News, they're good. And they had talked to my boss and said, "Is there any truth to this?" And I sent her my most recent newsletter with all the things referencing Christmas, pictures of the Christmas tree out in the cyber hall. And so she just sent it and said, "It sounds like this is probably unfounded." And it just dissipated.
Oh, good.
It just dissipated. But it also made me think, the things you say can be misinterpreted as well.
Yeah.
So,
And like coming back to being stoic.
yes.
And let's think
How
about
do
it
we
for a
handle this in
second.
a positive way
Yeah.
and move forward and, just tackle it face on, but in a
That's-
good way. Don't freak out.
And if you're not perfect, it's okay because
It's
we're still
okay.
working on it.
Right, exactly.
Oh, those lovely dogs.
Oh, I love the background noises. I think you had is it Jameson, little boy you have, who was at the beginning of the Be Curious, and I thought,
Yeah.
that's so good. That's so
Yes.
good.
So the fifth point, personal responsibility.
This is my big one. This is the one that has absolutely changed everything in my life, and that is that I refuse to allow myself to be a victim of anything now. The second something happens to me, even if it's clearly coming from some other person or situation, I think I'm responsible for this. How do I respond to this? What's the best way to handle this? Personal ownership. And that was probably the message I tried most to share with our students at Compass Academy was, if you blame things and push the blame onto other people or events, you lose all your power and you're a victim. How can you take some kind of ownership over this and become the better person? And also, like, if you have personal ownership, you can fix it. You can't change anybody else in the world, but you can change yourself and how you perceive things. And so personal ownership, before, especially back in the 90s when I was a young English teacher, I had a nemesis in my building. As you know, I loved nemesis back then. And everything bad that happened to me, I would, oh, he did this and he said this and he called me that and he took this out of my room. And what a sad thing to wallow in being a victim and wallow in the pity of your colleagues, and I didn't like it. And so now I will tell you, even if I could say this is clearly that other person's fault, if I got T-boned on the road, my first thought honestly is going to be, Shelly, you can't trust other people to do what they're supposed to do, so you need to be more attentive to how, it's just like, own it. Take ownership of it, and then you can change it. Period.
It's hard.
It's very hard because it's so much easier to blame things on other people and on circumstances, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work for me because, I'm an achiever. I like to
Yeah.
get things done, and if I own even the things that fall apart in my life, I'm going to be better off for it.
Yeah. But you're also okay with the failure aspect too.
Yeah.
Like getting T-boned, right?
Mhm.
Like I would
Yeah.
say that would be a failure of the
Yes.
day.
Big failure.
Yeah.
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 Big failure.
That's interesting.
And you don't that person would still be responsible for the insurance and
Right.
the citation.
You're not a doormat.
No,
like
I'm
you're
never
still
going to be a
gonna do the
doormat.
things.
But again, it's like, what can I do? My younger daughter, Gibson, is a really good driver. She's a really good driver. And what I trained her on, I said, assume everyone on the road is completely incompetent as a driver. You have to be aware of everything. And it's better to go slower and take your time and be behind the person, far behind the person ahead of you in case it's slick. But you have to own your driving because you're never going to be able to control all the other people.
Yeah.
And she's a really good driver. So
That's good.
Yeah.
So one thing that thought made me think of another thing. When I was a kid, I just thought this is how everybody learned to drive. Is you were never the first into the intersection.
Right.
And at a stoplight, right?
Right.
You let somebody go in front of, and I guess it's selfishly so they get T-boned, not you. But like, and it's kind of that concept. But the achiever in some people want to be first,
Yeah.
and like you might be collateral damage
Yeah.
if that's what's
I
happening.
don't understand road ragers. I do not understand it. I don't want to be part of that. You know?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So the other thing that I thought about with personal responsibility is how it impacts how you parent with your kids.
Mhm.
So being personal responsible, but still also raising these children who now yours are adults,
Mhm.
of you're responsible for you, not for them. How does that come into how you do things?
You know, I have the coolest mom and dad on the face of the earth. They are incredible. My mom had me when she was 16.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And I idolize that woman. Of course, during those few years, I was not a fan,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I remember going to college and I got an alert that said I hadn't paid my tuition bill or my room and board. And I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, they said I didn't pay it, but I did pay it. And she's like, Shelly, you're there. Go fix it.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I should do that. And that's something that not only with my own daughters, but with teachers I've worked with students, I'm like, I have faith that you could fix this. I'll intervene if you want me to. But
Yeah.
I think if you went and told that person this and talked to them about it and asked questions, I think you could resolve this and then you own the power. You're the powerful one. And people love that. They love
It's
feeling
empowering.
like, yes, exactly. And so that's how I've tried to raise my girls, is just that when something is rough out there, how are you going to tackle it? I have so many stories of my own daughters, like my little Gibby, she's almost 26 next week, but she was driving in the middle of the night. She's always loved to drive, and she got stuck up in like Comer Loma on some kind of valley, and it was muddy and she couldn't get out. And she was there in the middle of the night in her car, stuck on a road, and she figured it out. She figured out what to do. And to this day, I'm just like, that was incredible. You must have been so scared. You must have wanted to call your mom and dad and just had us come and rescue you, but you did it. And you know, I know that hope this isn't too personal, but she's having a baby on June 22nd, and she's very nervous about the whole birth experience. But we've talked about it, and when I saw her on Monday, she comes and eats lunch with me every Monday. She said, "You know what, Mom? It could be really hard and really painful, but it's like, I'm going to accomplish something. That's an accomplishment. I did that." And I'm like, yes, that's my powerful woman.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
even remember the question.
Yeah.
Was.
But taking personal responsibility and taking ownership over,
Yeah.
you know, the things that happen in your life.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm going to ask a harder question.
okay.
So what do you do when you want your kids, and you can do this general because you have kids at schools that you've raised too.
Yes.
Don't do what they need to do, and like this personal responsibility, and they're not doing it. Like how have you found being stoic helps you with kids that absolutely like are refusing to listen or do or
Yeah. You know, I think again that failure is going to be your best teacher. So I have definitely been known to allow a student to fail a class knowing that they're going to have to take summer school, because I know that they're never going to want to take summer school again. And you know, if you have the parent on board with you, that's huge. I remember, I hope this ties in, but I had a couple of kids at one of the schools I worked at where we found out that they had been smoking pot. And we actually used to be able to give a test where you could check. And yeah, they definitely smoked pot. They did it, but they had done it at home or someone's house or something. And when we talked to the police officer said, "You can't suspend a student for having pot in their system. They didn't smoke it here. There is no pot here. You can't." And so I called the parents and I just explained that, like, okay, your kid did this and they're shocked, but they didn't do it at school. But what I would like to do is work with you and give them a suspension and maybe some work duty to help you help them. And those parents were like, let's do it. Let's do it. So you just have to be open and honest about that. But again, I don't think kids don't learn from being rescued. They just learn to hope that somebody's going to come in and fix all the little problems they have. And so allowing a kid to fail and then grow from that. Every year there are 5 or 6 kids who graduate from Compass who were not on track to graduate when they were sophomores. And the fact that they failed and returned and worked harder, that is the joy. I went to their graduation party last year, that evening, just for an hour, and I was talking to a young student who had gone through some extreme failures. And I said to her when I saw her, I kind of held her by the shoulders and I said, you know how proud I am of you for what you've overcome. And she goes, I know. And her smile, like if we had rescued her and, changed everything that she was hoping would be changed, she would not have had that achievement that made her realize she could tackle anything in life.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to point out a couple of things that you said.
Okay.
So you talked about how you and the parents and the police officers all came together with this. So I think as a parent, like enlisting the administration in on this journey together.
Yes.
So you're not the bad guy, but like we are together the team of success here.
Yes.
I think that's a really important thing that you said. And then another one is being okay with the fact that they fail. And that's so hard sometimes. So hard because obviously I have a better answer.
Yes.
As a parent.
Yeah, we know what you know.
But it's hard. It is just really, really hard. And I think you live that and do that and people see that. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's something that when I would work with newer administrators, I would say, this can never be you versus the parent when the student is having trouble. You and the parent need to be arm in arm. You are best friends because you both adore this child and believe in this child. And if you can help the parent realize, I can't even tell you how many times I've said to a parent, you are a good parent. You are doing the right thing.
I think
anything
I can do, me.
Yeah, of course, anything I can do to help you. Your kid is incredible. And so much better than me just being like, I don't know how you're raising this kid, but no, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay, so now another hard question.
Okay.
What do you do when your administration is not on board with that?
I think, again, taking personal ownership, you could explain to them what you want. In fact, I remember one time, one of your students was, I don't know, getting a little behind or something, missing
I
class
think she
here or
was
there.
teaching
Okay,
quite
there
a
you
bit.
go.
Very true.
And you said to me, Shelly, what I need you to do is be warm but be firm. I need you to go talk to my student and help her see what is going to help. And the thing is, to me as a principal, I was like, this is awesome. This is a parent who wants the best for her child and wants to hold her accountable and wants to partner with me. And I think that's a big thing. If you go into a school and the principal, it's like you're doing this principal parent conflict, hitting up against each other, go in and say, I need you to partner with me in helping my student do the best. And I have some ideas, and I know you have some ideas. What can we do together? And right now, a lot of principals are very young. They have not, so many of the experienced principals in my life retired as soon as they could, because it's a tough job, and most of us can retire at 55, 56 because of the way our pensions work. And they crave partnership with parents, but instead they expect conflict with parents. And so if the parent has more maturity and expertise than the principal, they need to say, hey, I know it's going to feel natural that, you might feel I'm coming here to complain about you. I'm not. I want to help my kid. How can we work together on this?
That's very mature. Yeah. So I feel like you need to start offering classes for parents.
Anytime.
How to do this.
Oh, I could. Honestly. You
could.
have parents. I had a parent one time when I was over at Eagle Rock. Oh my gosh, I love this parent. And I bet her child is so successful because he did something so small and silly. And I just called her and said, your son's amazing. He's a great student. He did this one silly thing, and so I'm just going to let it go. But I just wanted to let you know that he and I had a conversation about it. And she said, you will not let it go, Mrs. Smede. And she said, here's what I propose. She said, the flower gardens in front of your office are overrun with weeds. My son is going to come for the next week, this was spring, and he is going to plant flowers and curate a lovely little flower garden under your window. And I was like, I would love that. And he did, and he felt so proud to have given back to the school, and I was so pleased with just the way he handled it. And I mean, it was just like everyone felt good about it. And it was because of a parent saying, no, that's not how I want things to go. Let's work together to make this a true learning experience for my son.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't follow this young man. I bet he's same age as my kid, so about 28. But I'm like, I'll bet he's killing it in life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
So in conclusion,
Okay.
we have be stoic.
Yes.
And you have learned along the way what you can control, how to put your ego aside, how to respond to failure, how to observe tough emotions and not let them overwhelm you.
Yes.
And then taking personal responsibility for all of those actions.
You got it.
Oh my word. I just want to sit and talk to you for hours and hours. And we will linger longer.
Okay.
So those that want to linger longer can.
Okay.
Because I remember I've wanted you on my podcast for a couple of years.
Aww.
And I went through Facebook trying to find the post of what you posted. And I couldn't actually find it.
Oh, is it that video of like step up?
No,
No,
but
it was
now I
something
want to
else.
hear that.
It
All
was the
right, so we're
same.
going to do the step up, but it's about your spider.
Oh, my spider tattoo.
So I want to hear that story because I couldn't actually remember
Yes.
what you posted because it was beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Okay. My daughter is an artist. Okay. Gibson, she went to Compass. She's an artist. She school was such a tense struggle, because it was just frustrating, but she loved Compass and she really was able to work on her art and become better at that. But I guess none of us thought art could be a profession. We were just like, yeah, maybe. And she tried a semester at East Idaho Technical College, or I guess East Idaho College now, community college. She tried a year at University of Idaho in fine arts, and nothing was sticking. And so when she got back to Idaho, and it was during COVID, she decided she wanted to apprentice to become a tattoo artist. I don't know if you know this, but there's an art alley downtown called Pugs Lane. It is off B Street, and it is beautiful, and artists fill that. It's just off B Street and Park. And it was her senior project. And she has maintained it for now, I think, 8 years.
Wow.
She's part of the art walk now, so that she'll go down there and do live painting now that, and she's 25 during the art walk experiences. And so she became a tattoo artist. She apprenticed for a year, and and so it was just, anyway, so I decided I wanted to get a tattoo from her when she finally was done with her apprenticeship and was an official tattoo artist. And I wanted a spider. And the reason was that when I was young, I was deadly terrified of spiders. If I thought I saw a spider in my room, I wouldn't sleep in the room until my mother had guaranteed me that spider had been found and killed. Wow. I wouldn't get in pools beneath pine trees because of spiders might fall on me. I was just terrified of them. But once I had kids, I realized I do not want my daughters to be afraid of spiders. So I have to pretend I'm not afraid of spiders. Mm-hmm. And so when we would see one in the house, instead of freaking out and having my husband come take care of it, I literally would just get a paper towel and grab that spider, throw it in the toilet, done. And neither of my girls are afraid of spiders. And so when I got the tattoo from my daughter, I got a big spider on my back just to remind myself that I can, even things that I am deadly terrified of, if there's a good reason for it, I can do it. Nothing is beyond my ability to overcome those fears. I can be that powerful woman.
And you've taught your girls.
Yes.
And
they're not afraid of spiders.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was the goal.
That's amazing. And you mentioned this one is in alignment too with what we're talking about.
It says, this is from Eckhart Tolle. The quote that most people hear is, "This too shall pass." But Eckhart Tolle says, "This too will pass," because I think that's more concrete. And so I got it on my arm because in my most tense moments, when you have a situation in a school, we've had lockdowns, we've had people served warrants across the parking lot, or things going on in our building, kids that weren't supposed to be there that we need to get out of there. Things happen in a school, and I had to stay relaxed. And at the same time, I had a lot of accomplishments. Things, I mean, being a principal is like being a rock star sometimes. You walk into an assembly and suddenly you find out the assembly is about your birthday and the whole thing is a celebration and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But if I fold my arms, I can read my tattoo that says, this too will pass. And it reminds me always, if something horrible is happening, it's going to resolve itself eventually. And if something beautiful is happening, that's going to pass and it's not going to last forever. So just enjoy each moment and don't put a value on moments. You don't have bad moments and good moments. You simply have moments in your life that help you become who you are and help you deepen as a human being who can then maybe help other people. Wow. And that's the coolest thing about being more stoic, is that you can listen and you can help other people and you can try to make the world a little bit better, just by not being so much in your head.
Yeah, mean girls are usually not on the service committee.
No, they're not. They are not.
That's awesome. Okay, now coming back to Step It Up.
Okay.
What's that? I don't even know what that is.
Do you know, it was actually a video I made. I'm sure I have it still somewhere. I think it's on a YouTube channel I made. But back during COVID, our students had quit doing their homework. We had that terrible hybrid schedule where, the kids were only having class twice a week. And because of our block schedule, they were only having math once a week. It was pretty rough. And I found that our kids weren't doing their assignments, weren't showing up for school. And so I did this video and I was pretty stern. And I was like, step up. Do what you say you're going to do. You are a lion. You believe in trust, respect, and responsibility. You have agency. And it was just, I got a lot of good feedback from that. But again, it was that whole idea of take personal ownership. Don't allow yourself to be a victim to this pandemic and ruin you. I remember one year having two young ladies who both of them had been abused by step-parents. Okay. And one of them, that became her entire story. That was who she was. And she, within a year, disappeared, dropped out of school. The other one was like, I will not allow this to define who I am. And this girl graduated with honors, was a leader in our school, and continues to grow. She right now has this, she's, I think, going to be singing at a major music festival. And I'm like, it's all in how you respond to those things. And so that was my message to kids, was just like, this is a tough time and you're all traumatized. I wasn't sarcastic, but I'm like, you can make this help be stronger. And so that was.
What do you think with COVID? Because you were right in the heart of it, teaching teenagers.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson learned? Now, it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, that's nuts.
So what's the biggest lesson or takeaway that you feel these kids in COVID? Because this is my kids, right? They were the teenagers in COVID.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a whole schoolhouse of kids.
I was just surprised. The biggest way it affected schools was kids just are absent more now, because I think somehow we taught kids, you don't really have to be at school every day to learn. We were trying so hard to help them learn outside of school that we actually every year would have at least one student say, can't I just stay at home and just like get on the learning management software and just do the assignments? Can't I? And it's like, no, you have to get there. You have to be face to face. You have to, jump in. And again, different kids respond differently. Some kids, have used that as I'm traumatized and this is the roughest time in the world and the world's falling apart. And other kids are like, I passed all my classes and I'm doing good. And I'm going to be more. And so it's just people decide how they're going to respond to traumatic events. And, a Stoic would say, Suck it up.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yes. I have a plaque downstairs in my office that says "Suck it up, Buttercup."
Oh, I love
Somebody
it.
gave that to me.
Yes. Yes. And life is hard. We do
Yeah.
go through
Oh,
hard things,
definitely.
but
Definitely.
we don't have to be scared of spiders,
Yep.
and we can continue to do greatness.
Right.
And I and set our ego aside,
Mhm.
which can be hard.
Yes, it can.
Especially if you have like spicy kids that want to really test you,
Yes.
and they definitely know more than you do. And
If I could share one thing
Yeah.
that's going to be very cool, my oldest, I think around age 20, came back and said, "Mom, you were right. You were a good mom." And my youngest, at age 25, said, "Mom, you did a good job. I learned from you. You did the right thing." And so you just have to be patient. It'll come
happens.
back. It does happen. I did the same with mine. About age 20, I was like, "Mom, you're the best mom on the face of the earth, and I mistreated you as a teenager, and I was wrong." And now, boy, that woman, we do extended hugs. I see her every
Aw.
Saturday, and I'm just like, I am so grateful that you're in my life, and you are the person who I got to learn from to
Yeah.
have as my mom.
And relationships are hard, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Like
Yes.
you stay in it, you keep doing it,
Yeah.
you keep showing up, and you keep even when it's hard, and you're like
Yeah.
hugging a porcupine, and it's not helping. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But somebody has to be the grown up, and I think
Oh,
as mom, we have to be the grown up.
yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I had a friend yesterday come and share with me. So I wasn't planning on talking to you this, but I
Okay.
have your undivided attention.
Yes, you
so
do.
I'm going to ask you. So she is a kid, and her kid's amazing and very talented, very smart, and very publicly facing in some things that she does, but refused to get out of bed. And
Oh.
this mom didn't know what to do, and they ended up getting her out of bed and getting her to the school. And she kind of came and said to me, like, I'm not going to be strong enough to do this physically
Yeah.
and emotionally, right?
Mhm.
Like, because the kid's going to grow and going to be bigger.
Right.
What advice do you have? What would you do? What would you say to that mom?
Well, every choice has a consequence. There's a logical response to what's happening there. And so as a principal, we sometimes did have kids and the parents would be like, "I cannot get them here for first period." And that student would ultimately have to come on Saturdays and do Saturday school to make up the time for first period. And it's like, that's just a logical consequence. Mom, you don't have to intervene in that at all. That it's a tough one though, especially though if you're the one who is giving them their ride to school. Once they have a car, I know my own daughter. For her, we actually had to start making her schedule so her classes started at 10
Later.
Yeah, it just didn't work. She was just such a little night owl, just like her dad. But yeah, if logical consequences can help, awesome. When they're in high school, there's usually, I think kids can earn so many more credits than they actually need to graduate, that you can actually say, teenagers, it's hard to get them to school at 8:30.
Yeah.
So if you can just have them never have a first period and then get to the next class, that's one way of handling it. But if they, miss that class so often that they lose credit due to absences, they're going to have to take the class again, or they're going to have to do the makeup time.
So do you, like, as a mom, does she say that? Does she like bring in her other people? Like, how do you... Because she's just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. She might do like you did and actually call and just have that conversation with the principal or the counselor and say, "Could you have a conversation with my kid and just talk about the fact that she's already missed too many days of her first period. She's going to have to start making this time up in Saturday school, whatever you can do." And, and another thing is just to get the kid an alarm clock.
Yeah.
I assume that's already part of...
Yeah, I think it is.
Take the phone out of the room at night. Like, that's one thing. Kids who have their phones or their laptops in their bedrooms all night, they could be getting pinged all night long. And so that right there, just having a place that everybody puts their phones and their laptops at night might help. Kids with TVs in their rooms, sometimes that would be rough. Like if they're playing video games all night, well, let's have that be not in the room.
So there's some things the parent can do to help, like sleep hygiene.
Absolutely.
And then some things. Yeah, that's really great advice.
Yeah.
I'm going to send that to her.
Okay.
Yeah. It's similar to what we said. Garth and I were talking to her about it, and and we were just like, yeah, it's rough. We've been there.
Yeah.
We know.
Or
Like,
have someone else call, maybe, like, I don't know, what if I don't know how well you know the child, but maybe you give her a jingle. Like,
yeah,
this is going to be nuts. You remember Mrs. Toller, the math teacher?
I don't,
Oh,
but
she's awesome. She's
okay.
amazing. I know that Ainsley had her, but I don't know. Not everyone would probably think this was appropriate, but I found about it after the fact. She would sometimes, if Gibby was late for math,
Mm.
she would call and she'd say, Gibby, if you get here within the next 15 minutes, we won't count you absent. And Gibby would get there. And Gibby's
Wow.
like, that was the coolest thing to have a teacher. And I would never
Cared.
ask for a teacher to do that.
Right.
But in this situation, this teacher just knew what Gibby needed, and it
Yeah.
meant a lot to Gibson.
Yeah.
You know?
Becoming that mentor that
Yeah,
a kid
that's
needs.
a lot to ask of a teacher, but
Yeah.
depends on how
Well, and some
well
teachers
they interact.
care, and some can. I mean, all teachers care. They're in the profession of caring,
Yes.
but
Yes.
are able to bring it to that next level
Exactly.
of helping.
Exactly.
Oh, you're amazing. You're amazing. Is there anything else that you would say to my girls or your girls, or that of like this concluding thought? Because you've done a lot of research. I
Yeah.
know that you've done a lot of research on this.
I will tell you, I actually do have like a final thought. As I was kind of researching, because Stoicism is so huge that I am still an infant when it comes to studying it. But I found a quote that was very important to ancient Stoics, and I actually bought this T-shirt for this interview.
I love it.
It
Show it
says
to us.
"Memento Mori,"
Yes.
and let me make sure I can say this. Memento vi. I put it on here how to say it. Vivere, I believe. Memento vivere. Okay, memento mori, memento vivere, and memento mori. It means in Latin, remember you must die. And that sounds very negative, but it's like every day when you wake up could be your last. You have to keep in mind that you're not going to be here forever. And the partner, memento vivere, is remember you must live. And that idea is that don't wait to live your life. Live it now. Live it now. I was always telling my husband, honey, I promise we'll travel. He loves to travel. We'll travel when I retire. We'll have so much time. It'll be so great. Well, my husband was diagnosed with a upper neuron motor disability, and it's hard for him to walk now. And that's really taken over in the last 5 years. For me to be saying, let's not travel till we're retired, I forgot memento vivere, remember to live. And I think that that's the big thing, is just that it's that seize the day. Every day is a gift, everything. Sometimes I look out the window and I'll see a robin on my sidewalk and I just get giddy thinking, life is beautiful. It's beautiful. But you have to remind yourself of that every day, is that you're going to die, so live every moment.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. Right
Oh,
now.
that's amazing. So I also did some research on Stoicism.
Yes. Oh, share.
And a lot of it is about virtue.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the 14 BC,
Yes.
right? Like, this is a long time ago. And one of the quotes that I found was by D. Todd Christofferson, and it says, "Unity does not require sameness, but it does require harmony." And I think that kind of ties back into the mean girl aspect
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm very much there too, I would get these accidental nemesis, is what I called them. And I didn't mean to, but this idea of unity doesn't require sameness. And I think that that's something that you really emphasized at Compass, is everybody's unique and awesome.
Yeah.
But we do require some harmony here
Yes.
in what we're doing.
And we do hold ourselves to a standard as professionals.
Yes.
That we can be better, all of us, and accept. I used to say to the kids right on the first day, if every single one of your friends talks the same as you and believes the same as you and dresses the same as you, a couple of you are not necessary. And so get out there and meet new people and learn from other people.
And you really did that with the project-based learning.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's one of the best things of education.
It's so good.
And
projects are something that kids continue to use. I still get
Yeah.
messages from kids saying, I thought of this college project as a project and it was awesome.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
My kid said to me the other day, I can't remember what we were talking about or something, and she said, "Oh, I know what I need to do." And I was like, "Oh, tell me." And she said, and I'm not going to remember exactly what it is,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you're going to know. She like created a little chart, and she said, "This is what I need to know."
This is what I know.
Okay, what is
This
it?
is what I need to know. These are my next steps.
Yes, that's exactly what she did.
Go.
And I was like,
Beautiful.
"Oh, that is Shelly Smede to the
Beautiful.
core." To the
I
core.
still use those things just on the
Okay,
projects
so explain
I
it.
work on.
What?
Oh, well, project-based learning, that's how you start. You instead of a teacher giving you a few tidbits every day till the end of a unit, and then you probably know what you need to know for that project and you can take a test, you give the kids an overwhelmingly huge project. Like, we're going to create a museum for our community based on all of the American wars that have occurred. And kids are just like, that's so much. And so then the teacher says, what do you know? And we make a list of, we're going to do a museum. The public's going to be involved. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be about wars. What do you need to know? And what's so cool is then kids are asking, I need to learn about the different wars. I need to learn how to write a description to go along with my display. I need to know how to talk to an audience. And so the students are basically naming all of the objectives that we knew they needed. That was part of the state standards, but they're now asking, and there's some urgency there. And then what are my next steps? And that helps the teacher know, here's what I am going to be, the experience I'll provide for kids tomorrow. So it's not what I'll teach tomorrow, it's the experience I'll provide for the students. So they are the ones that are actively learning that information. It is beautiful. And that, if you think of any project you've ever done, like this podcast, what do I know about Stoicism? What do I need to know so that we can have the conversation? And what are my next, it's like everything fits.
Well, and I would even say for having a baby, right? For raising a teenager.
Yes.
Like all of these things. What do I know?
Right.
And what you know is from your own experiences,
yes.
which might be terrible. Like I know I don't want to beat my kids with a spoon. And so I know that, but what do I need to know in order to not do that?
Exactly.
And then what are my next steps?
Yes. I actually used it. I was 2 years in. I had taught at Compass for 2 years, and I was the dean of students, and I ran for city council. And I told my boss, I said, I'm going to run it like a project. Mm-hmm. So what do I know? What do I need to know? I ended up interviewing all the directors in the town and, talking to the other people who were running, and then what are my next steps? And every day I would make new plans on what I had to get done, and it worked so perfectly. I just thought projects are real.
Yeah,
we all do projects. Life. It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, I love you.
Love you right back.
I love that you have taught my kids, right? Like you're in alignment.
Your kids are easy to teach.
Well,
they're easy to teach.
Nice. Sometimes. They definitely are not
Is
doormats.
Emmy at Compass now?
Uh-huh. Emmy's still at Compass.
That makes me so happy.
She's taking all CEI classes next year. And so
good.
She's just
so
rocking
good.
it. Like she just is doing awesome.
Marvelous.
My other kids are at Alturas.
Yes.
And they're loving
My niece
that.
is there.
Oh,
do you have a 7th grader?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, ask your 7th grader if she knows Lily Hall. That is my niece.
Well, connect them.
Yes.
And bring them to Taco Tuesday.
Oh, fun.
That would be perfect.
Yes. Well, you let me know if they know each other.
They can get to know each other.
That's true. That's true.
That's awesome. Okay. I never want this to end.
You're so sweet.
That's how it is.
One thing Steve said to me yesterday, that's my husband. I said, I hope I'm not ridiculous and I don't talk too fast. And, boy, when I listen to Sam Castor, I'm like, oh, wow, he's amazing. And he said to me, he goes, you know what? You've told me Jamie knows what she's doing. She's going to help you. She's going to ask the right questions, and you've made me feel very comfortable.
Oh,
so
good.
Thank you.
You weren't You're not nervous now?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's awesome. You really are amazing.
Well,
you are an amazing person.
Right back at you. When when I heard that you had started these in 2011, I'm like, that's when podcasts were just
Yeah.
barely. And this, all the things you have, oh my gosh, you are a professional.
Oh, well, I think
Wow.
actually professional means you get paid for it. So I'm not quite there yet,
Okay.
but I am a whatever the next below professional
Well,
is.
the podcasts that I listened to were excellent. They were
Oh,
very
thank you.
intriguing. I learned a lot from them. I just thought I wish I'd listened to that one, or it had even been available for me when my husband and I were raising kids. The one
Yeah.
that with you and Mr. Braithwaite. I
Oh,
was like, oh, they have such good ideas. Date night. That would have been a good idea.
that is one of the things. And the achiever in me
Yeah.
kind of needs
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah,
Beautiful.
he's really good for
And
me.
it's such a good lesson for your kids.
Yeah.
Because then when they get married, they're like, we have date night, buddy.
Yeah, this is it. This is how it is.
Yes.
Well, and I don't even know exactly what I said on that podcast, but I'll tell you, date night's cheaper than a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
You know, one of the things that and again, I know that a lot of people, both my brother and sister have divorced or
yeah,
are getting divorces. But I remember saying to some of my, some of the people at Compass who I, adults who I mentored and worked with as colleagues, I was like, you guys have happy relationships and happy marriages, and that is worth its weight in gold.
mm,
That it shows some true accomplishment and discipline to be able to maintain and nurture a relationship for that amount of time. Don't lose that if you can
yeah.
help it.
Well, and I think it's a muscle, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something that you have to exercise and
Yeah.
you have to continue to do.
You
Because
have to be
if
serious
not,
about it. Like I know with like one thing with me, Steve and I have been married 33 years this year. I don't feel like I've ever even flirted with anybody. I was just like, no, I am 100%. I am
Yeah.
a married woman, happily married. And no,
yeah,
it just,
yeah. I like how Brene Brown says it of uh, the percentage wise, right? Like you have to both give 110%.
yeah,
Because there's going to be times where I'm at 20% and Garth is going to need to make
Yes.
up more than that 80%.
yes,
And I don't think that there's like, it's not a clock that you're like, okay, now it's your turn to do
Yes.
the 20%. Like if we're both at 20%, that's really, really
Yeah.
hard. And we are familiar with divorce and all the terrible things that go with that. And it, one of my friends that's going through a divorce right now says to me, like, I'm just praying for a miracle. And I keep saying, like, you are the miracle.
Yes.
And like, you'll get out on the other side
Absolutely.
and you're going to be okay.
yeah.
And
There are
maybe,
divorces that need to be divorces.
Yes.
I mean, again, with my brother and sister, but it's like, yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard. You have to find that right person, and you have to both be giving not 50-50.
Yeah.
It's 110.
Yeah.
You're right, so that you can balance each other out.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I want my kids to know that. And like,
Mhm.
and I love you being married. And I love that, like, and I want order of operations to happen so
Yes.
that you like graduate high school and be married.
Do
like,
things in the
all the-
order, yes.
but also if you tank and fail,
Uh-huh.
like we'll support you too.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yep,
and there's something you need to learn.
absolutely.
How are you going to learn it? How are we going to move forward?
Right.
And it's hard and a lot of tears and a lot of anger and what are you learning? Which
Yeah.
comes right back to being stoic and how can
Exactly.
you
Exactly. That's one of the probably the most important things for co-parenting if you're divorced is stoicism with each other.
Yes. 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 Oh, we might need to schedule another whole podcast. This is awesome.
Well, I keep learning, so
Thank you for coming on.
thank you for inviting me. I was like trying to like, you don't want to talk to me anymore. I'm retired. I don't do anything anymore. But thank you for, encouraging me and giving me the opportunity to think through what would be a topic I could speak on. And so it's been really good for me this month to just reflect and read and,
And I want to start your 10 journal. So like,
it's so fun.
that's cool.
It's so fun. And you just build it as you go.
Yeah.
The first year that I did it, it was 1 page. And the next day it was 2 pages long. And then
Yeah.
3 pages. You just build it over time. And then when Google finally was like, this is 365 pages. I'm done. So I just made a copy,
Yeah.
deleted everything, started with 2017.
Wow.
We've
So
been
now
going.
you're on 2025.
2025. So I think it's been 18 years. May 6th will be
Wow.
18 years of this journal, and it has been awesome. I wish I would have even started it earlier, but
You know, I've journaled every day since I was 12,
that's awesome.
but I haven't reflected like you're talking.
It's
Like,
to have them all on the same page. And you can
yeah,
even like open up the 2006 one and the 2017
on
one
both pages.
and have 18 years of April 1st
Yeah.
and what was going on in my life and how have I changed.
I would love to read yours.
Oh,
Will you just share
yeah.
it with me?
Anytime.
Like,
You let me know.
oh,
It's
man.
there's nothing personal on it. I mean, it's personal, but it's like there's nothing that could be scandalous in it.
yeah.
Because I always write it with the idea that someone may read this.
Well, and I think you should consider publishing it. I am
Aw.
being serious. You're really cool. And the things that you've learned.
I don't know how many people would be like, would enjoy reading. I got new carpet today and it cost $3,300.
Hey, that's important information if you're just buying your first house.
Yeah. Well, it's really nice when someone can say, how old is this water heater? Water
Yeah.
heater? Oh, 8 years.
Multi-purpose for
Yes,
your journal.
that has been the best part. My husband will be like, when did I last go to the neurologist? July 7th, 2023.
That's awesome. I've been taking pictures is how I remember things.
I love
and
that.
So, and then, yeah. And then
That's
I
awesome.
Instagram them and stuff. But I like the reflecting
Yeah, put the
aspect
tag,
of it.
put the tags on them so you can search them.
Yeah, you have to have high consistency for what you're describing, and it's my 34th string. So I will say I'm going to rely heavily on AI to help me with this.
That's very good. That's very good.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
coming.
Thanks again for the invitation. This was
Yes.
really fun.
And we're going to do it again.
I would love to.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.